Hi dear students, welcome back to Films Academy. Let's get started with the last part of the chapter, that is how the microorganisms behave as foes in our life. So, as we know that we were dealing with the chapter microorganisms, friends and foe. In the previous videos, we covered the concept how does these microorganisms work as friends in our life. So we discovered various concepts of baking, production of wine, how these microorganisms help in decomposition process, and how these microorganisms help in nitrogen fixation for the plants, and all those concepts. Now let us switch on and see the negative side of the microorganisms, wherein we are all aware, like most of these microorganisms, they cause various diseases. And these diseases are not only limited to the human beings, they also cause the diseases in plants, in different animals, as well as the human beings. Alright? So by now we are aware that not all the microorganisms are capable of causing the diseases. Of course, some of them are behaving as our friends, but some of them are behaving as our enemies, right? So those microorganisms which are capable of causing diseases in either plants or animals or human beings are termed as pathogens. So pathogens are the disease causing microorganisms. Now, when it comes to the word disease, are all the diseases caused by microorganisms? Okay. To know about them a little more in detail, let's get to the examples of different diseases that we have in our daily life and find out if all the diseases are caused by the microorganisms. So the common diseases that we come across in our daily life is diabetes. Of course, this has become very common nowadays. And then we have hypertension, which leads to the blood pressure and all that stuff. Then we have cardiac arrest. Of course, it is a burning issue on all the social media sites that cardiac arrest has become really common. And then we might come across kidney failures, etc., etc. In contrast to this, we do have certain diseases like chickenpox. We have tuberculosis. Then we have polio. Then we have again chickenpox, tuberculosis, polio, and we have measles. So I'm actually listing out all those diseases which we get to see in our daily life, right? So if you talk about these diseases like diabetes, hypertension, cardiac arrest, or kidney failure, these are not at all caused by the microorganisms, right? These are the problems related to the improper functioning of the body parts, or failure of different organs, or the stress level that we undergo, and our diet, whether we are taking the balanced diet, or there is any imbalance. Depending on that, we are getting all these diseases. So these diseases are not at all caused by the microorganisms, but these are the diseases which are caused by microorganisms. These diseases are either caused by viruses, or the bacteria, or fungi, or some protozoa, right? So these are the diseases. So these diseases can be called as microbial infections or microbial diseases, and these are non-microbial diseases wherein these are not caused by the microbes. So now we got to know the clear definition between the non-microbial diseases and the microbial diseases. Now let us switch on to these microbial diseases and get to know more about them. Alright. So if I talk about the microbial infections, like whatever we have listed down over there, now these microbial infections can easily spread from one person to another person. Let's take one example of this chickenpox, right? Chickenpox is a very common disease that we get to see in children of age between 4 and 8 years, or sometimes 10 years, or sometimes 12 years, right? So these children, they suffer from these problems, and you might have seen that these children are basically, they are given a separate place during this infection, so that they are there and they are not in physical contact with the other people of the family. Even they are not even allowed to come and touch the other person, whether they are siblings or they are siblings. They are not allowed to come and touch them. Why is it so? This is because this is a microbial infection which has the capacity to spread from an infected person to a healthy person, just because this is a microbe. Now this microbe can come in contact with the body of the other person, which is a healthy person, through various ways, right? It can be through air, it can be through the water that they have left after drinking, or it might be the food that they are taking. There are different ways of these microbes, spreading from one person to the other person. That means most of the microbial infections which are caused, they are capable of spreading from an infected person to a healthy person, and that's the reason why these are called as communicable diseases. Communicable diseases are basically those diseases which can spread from an infected person to a healthy person. So most of the microbial diseases are communicable diseases. They spread from an infected person to a healthy person. Now there are various ways as how these communicable diseases can spread from one person to another person. The first common way is the air, or else it can be the water, it can be food, it can be the physical touch, or it can be the vectors or the carriers. Vectors are also called as carriers of the microbes. Now, if we talk about this communicable diseases spreading through the air, let's take one simple example. Think a person was suffering from common cold. Now we know that common cold is a microbial infection which is caused due to the virus. So these viruses will be there in the body, and whenever a person sneezes, think that that person is not using a handkerchief or any other cloth to cover the mouth or the nose. Now all the mucus that comes out of the nose or the saliva that comes out of the mouth, they are basically thrown out. Okay? Either they come in contact with the hand of that person, or else they are thrown out into the atmosphere wherein. Now the same air, when it is inhaled by the person who is in, who is really close to that infected person, the healthy person also might get that virus inside the body, and that virus starts developing in the body, and that's the reason why the healthy person also gets the disease. Or else, what will happen? While sneezing, the infected person was holding the hand like this. So those viruses which were there in the mucus or the saliva are now there in the hands of the person. If the proper hygiene is not maintained, and if this infected person is not going and washing the hands often, if he simply goes with the same hands and shakes the hand with the healthy people, those healthy people will get the virus in contact with their body. And this virus, once it enters the body, will start multiplying, and even the healthy people will get this disease. So this is how, through the air or through the physical touch, the communicable diseases can spread from from an infected person to a healthy person. Now when it comes for the water, we know that most of these microbial infections are waterborne or airborne. That means they spread through the water, think that the water was contaminated, okay? Now the same water is drank by so many people, in the party hall or somewhere like that. That means now this cause of the bacteria, the microorganism which is there, the virus which is there, or protozoa which is there, if it was there in that water which is drank by so many people in the party hall, all these people will be getting these diseases. So the contaminated water can spread the disease like anything. In a very massive way, it can spread the disease. Coming to the food, same way as how the water was contaminated and was taken by so many people at once, even the food can be taken by so many people at once if it is contaminated with the microbes, and then this food can cause the diseases in different people who have consumed it. Next one, coming to the last one, that is these diseases, communicable diseases, can spread through the vectors or the carriers. Now, let us have a close look to into these vectors and carriers. So, let's start with discussion of the vectors or the carriers that spread the microbial infection from an infected person to a healthy person. So, we are talking about communicable diseases and how these communicable diseases are spreading through the vectors, which are also called as carriers of the diseases. Now we know that these communicable diseases which are there, these are the diseases which are caused by the microbes. So if this disease has to spread from an infected person to a healthy person, it is just the transfer of this microbe that is required from an infected person to a healthy person's body. So here, common agents that we see in our daily life like houseflies, mosquitoes, they become the common agents of spreading these diseases. Let us get a little deeper into this and try understanding how are these mosquitoes and houseflies are actually spreading the disease from one person to the other person. What basically happens is, think fecal matter was there. We know that wherever there is dirt, wherever there is garbage, wherever there is fecal matter, these houseflies are fond of these places because it is the food for them, right? So they go sit on that and consume, digest the food material over there, and they consume it for their nutrition. It's very common. So these houseflies, when they go and sit on an excreta, the fecal matter of a person who is infected by a disease, the microbe which was causing the disease in that person will be there in the fecal matter now. Now that microbe which is there in the fecal matter will get attached to the legs of the houseflies, and these houseflies, they are fond of sitting in the places wherever it is open. So think that the food was left open. It can be anything. It can be your pani puri, it can be your masala puri, it can be your burgers, it can be your french fries or whatnot. So these houseflies, they come and sit on the food which is left open in air, and those microbes which were stuck to the legs of these houseflies will now be transferring to the food material. Now these food material, when it is consumed by the human being, the microbe enters the body and causes the disease which that particular microbe is causing. Next, coming to these mosquitoes, there is a special thing that we have to know to it here, right? We know that if we go during night time out, during evening, we get to see lot many mosquitoes who are there near the plants. Not all the mosquitoes come and bite us. This is all because, see, even in mosquitoes, we have two genders, okay? One are male mosquitoes, another one are female mosquitoes. Male mosquitoes, they are not going to lay the eggs. That means they can survive on the simple nutrition that they get from the sap of the plants. It can be leaf sap, it can be flower sap, or anything for that matter. They can survive on the sap that they obtain from the plants. But these female mosquitoes, they have to lay the eggs. That means these eggs have to get the nourishment for the larvae to hatch into an adult. For that reason, these female mosquitoes will have to come and bite us so that they suck the blood and through our blood they obtain the nutrition that is required for hatching of their eggs or laying the eggs, right? So that is the reason why only female mosquitoes, because they have got the capacity to come and bite us and suck the blood, or they're fond of doing it, or they have to do it for the sake of their nutrition. These female mosquitoes, when they come and bite us, they carry the microbe from our body, go and bite the other person who is healthy and spread the disease causing microbe. That's how the female mosquitoes become the vectors or the carriers to spread the communicable diseases. Done? So let us take some examples of these mosquitoes and the diseases which are caused by them. So the first example is, it is female Anopheles mosquito. This female Anopheles mosquito, it spreads a disease called malaria. We have heard of this, right? During the winter season, we get to see that there are a lot many cases of malaria, there are a lot many cases of chikungunya, dengue, and all that stuff. Let us look at that concept also first after taking the examples of these mosquitoes. So female Anopheles mosquitoes, it spreads the disease called malaria, and there is another example of a female mosquito which is called as female Aedes. Now this female Aedes mosquito spreads the disease called dengue, which we all are aware of. Now this malaria which is there, it is caused by a protozoa. I hope you all remember that protozoa is a class of microorganisms. So these protozoans, a particular protozoa called Plasmodium, causes a disease called malaria. Now whenever a person is infected by malaria, if that person is bitten by the mosquito simply carries Plasmodium into its sting and goes and bites the other person who is healthy. As a result, the Plasmodium gets shifted from this body to that body or transfers from this body to that body, and even the healthier person gets the Plasmodium inside the body and develops a disease called malaria. Next, this dengue which is there, it is caused by a virus. Now, we know that during the winter season, these diseases are at the peak level. Now, why is this happening? This is all because this is the only season where we get to see more and more population of mosquitoes. Why? During winter season, when it rains, the water gets stagnant around the places. It can be unused tubes, or these are the waste tires, or any bucket, or any tub material, any jug which is kept. So all those objects, they get filled with water, and we know that this stagnant water becomes the breeding ground for the mosquitoes. That means these mosquitoes go sit on those water, wherever it is collected, the stagnant water, sit on that, lay the eggs. Now those eggs will hatch in the water which is there. It is a breeding ground for them. So they hatch over there and then they come out as adult mosquitoes. Now, whenever their breeding is happening at the maximum rate, the maximum population can be seen. Whenever the population is maximum spread can happen from one person to another person. That's the reason why during winter season, the communicable diseases like malaria, dengue, especially which are spread by the mosquitoes, their population goes high. So, this was all about the diseases caused by the microorganisms or pathogens who are involved in causing the diseases in different organisms. Let us talk about the different diseases which are caused by microbes in human beings and plants, and how to prevent them and what are the causes of those diseases in the next video. So, see you in the next video.